Welcome to Silver Coin Age of Monster Hunters, a game where 1 to 5 players will travel the land of Atosia in order to fight and slay the monsters that are bothering the local populace. By doing so, they will gain the coins which they will need in order to win the game. The game will last for 2 years, divided into 8 seasons, 24 months, or in gaming turns, 24 rounds. After those, the player with the most coins will win the game. Ties being decided by the player highest on the reputation track. Hey guys, welcome to how to play video for Silver Coin Age of Monster Hunters. We have prepared this video to hopefully guide you through the process of how to play. After we have finished with this video, you should be able to play the game, and for any additional rules you can always contact us via Discord or write us an email, and later on we should also be sending you a full set of rules so you can read those as well. Without further ado, let's just jump into it. So, Silver Coin can be played as a solo game, a cooperative game, or a competitive game. So in this video, we will cover the competitive mode. We will focus on 3-player setup, and without further ado, let's just jump into it. To set up the game in Tabletopia, there really isn't that much more to do, as most of the components are already set up for you. So together, we'll just cover the parts you do have to set up and show you how. We will start on the left side of the game board, where there are Monarch and Townsfall cards. For some of these we need to finish the setup, and for the others we have some tokens we can place to help us remember certain things as we play the game. First, the Wizard will need its own teleportation cards. Second, the Herbalist will need the matching deck of Major Antidote and Major Healing Potion cards. Third, we have the Unforgiving Monarch. He has his own band token that we will place somewhere on the map. Above the card we can see that he is located in the Red Kingdom of Fabula, so we will place the token there. Next we have the Monster Hunter card, which tells us to place the max 1 token on the associated kingdom on the tavern board. This will indicate the maximum amount of missions that will come out in that kingdom. So again, this is the Red Kingdom of Fabula, and we mark it by placing the token on the second spot on the tavern board like this. Continuing, there is a Taxer Monarch in the Yellow Kingdom of Abaris. He comes with its own set of components, which are these roadblocks that will help us indicate that the player entering the kingdom has to pay for doing so. So we place these on the entry spots for the kingdom, and if the kingdom has a port, don't forget to put out one there out as well. Abari has one, so we place it. There, we have 2 more to go. The Skeptic Monarch has its own token with -10 coins picture. We will place it in the Purple Kingdom of Morahan on the world map. And lastly, there is the Librarian Townsfall card. Depending on the number of players, we set up the matching amount of kingdom tokens on its card. We are playing a 3-player game, so we will place 3. Next, we will go to the tavern board to set up our starting mission cards. We start the game with a total of 9 mission cards. So first, we will draw 7 missions from the mission deck. In case we get more than 3 missions for any of the kingdoms, we will draw replacements instead and discard the extra missions. Likewise, we will not be placing more than 1 mission on the spot for the Red Kingdom of Fabula, as it has the Monster Hunter's Townsfall card and has a maximum of 1 mission that can be placed there in this game. The max 1 token we have placed there previously is there to remind us just that. After we have finished placing 7 mission cards on the matching kingdoms, we will place 7 white monster tokens on them. Then we will draw the 8th mission card and place the brown monster token on top of it. And we will finish the tavern setup by placing the 9th and final mission card together with the red monster token. Now we will move to the color dice area. There are 3 subsections for those. From the purple bag we will randomly draw 6 dice for each and place the dice in their spots in all 3 areas. Area 1, Area 2 and Area 3. Below the game board there is a Kingdom Cards area. We need to make sure that there is one more face-up kingdom card than there is a number of players, so in our case, playing the 3-player variant, we need to set up 4 of them. Because we have 5, we will return 1 to the kingdom card deck. On the opposite side, on the top of the game board, there is the herbs area. There we see 7 face-up herb cards and the herbs deck. We need to just check and make sure that there isn't more than 2 cards from the same kingdom. In our case, we can see that there are 3 blue ones from the Kingdom of Voldemort, so we will return the rightmost card to the deck, shuffle it and draw a replacement until we meet the criteria. The last thing we need to do to set up the game is to go to the auction board on the left upper corner of the table Tabletopia and place the equal amount of character cards to the number of players on the auction board itself. So we will do that and place 3 random character cards on the auction board. There, we are done with the setup for Silvercoin Age of Monster Hunters, and we can start explaining how to actually play this game. So let us start with the auction phase. Auction phase happens only once in a game, which is after setup is done. Here we are going to bid for our starting characters, location and magic, so 3 separate auctions. If we look at the auction board, we can see 4 different spots we can put our token on. Each gives us different amount of coins. The lowest spot gives you most starting coins but can easily be outbid by other players. That means that after a player has bid, the next one can outbid him by putting his token on the spot above. Let's look at the example. Firstly, we bid for our starting characters. Each character has a unique ability and also a special ability which he can use when a special flow round takes place. For first auction, we randomly decide the order in which the players will start the auction. The blue player wants to go with a natural chaos character, but he also wants to start with the highest amount of gold, so he will put his token on the lowest spot below the natural chaos card. Yellow player wants the berserker, but he doesn't want to be outbid easily, so he will put his token on the second lowest spot, granting him 70 coins. And finally, the red player goes last. She also goes for the natural chaos character and can outbid the player. She puts her token one spot above the blue player, granting her 70 coins, thus outbidding the blue player who now has to bid again. This time he can decide to outbid either of the 2 players but will receive a maximum of 40 coins, or he can decide to go for the rider and receive 100 coins. He decides for the latter. When all players have already bid, they take their starting characters and put them on their player boards. They also take their starting sum of coins for that auction. The second and third auction play the same way as the first one, except for one smaller adjustment. The order in which those auctions will take place is now decided by the number written on the top right side of their character card. Lowest number goes first. For the second auction, players will be bidding for their starting location and kingdom knowledge. When finished, again take the sum of coins accordingly, place your character figure on your starting location, and place kingdom knowledge token on allocated spot on your player board. For the third and final auction, players will bid for their starting magic and amount of flow. Flow being one of the resources within the game. There are 2 types of flow, the magic and the physical. After the auction, take the gained amount of coins, flow and matching magic card back to your player area as we are showing here. So after the auction part, player should now have on their player boards their starting character card, one starting kingdom knowledge, some flow, magic or physical, or both, one starting magic card, some starting amount of coins ranging between 0 and 300 coins, and should have placed their player figure on their starting location marked on their mission card. One final thing players need to do before they enter the first round is to mark their player order on the bottom right side of the game board, same as before according to the numbers displayed on their character cards. Lowest number goes first, second lowest second, and so forth. After the 3 auctions, the auction part of the game is completed, and we move to the second and main part of the game rounds. As already mentioned, there is a total of 24 game rounds, each representing 1 month on the calendar track, which keeps track of the round but also lets us know what time of day and type of weather we are experiencing in this round of the game. The weather cards on the calendar track will in addition indicate what type of round we will be facing next. There are in total 3 types: normal round, bidding round, and flow round. We will first explain how the normal rounds work and then return to see what happens in the bidding and flow rounds. Normal game round. A normal game round consists out of 3 phases: preparation phase, action phase, and cleanup phase. Preparation phase is the first phase every player does on their turn. Everything regarding preparation phase will involve kingdom cards, which are located below the game board. They represent players' activities as they travel the world of Atosia. If we take a look at one of the kingdom cards, we can notice 3 different things. First, its color. There are 6 colors, each representing one of the kingdoms. Secondly, in the bottom corner of each card there is a number ranging from 1 to 7. This number represents the card's value during the bidding. Last thing to know regarding kingdom cards is the symbols on them. There are 4 possible symbols each card can have. Experience, represented as a star symbol. Second is reputation, represented as a thumbs up symbol. Third is the movement, represented as a winged boot symbol. And flow, represented as a flowing circle symbol. Some cards might have multiple symbols on them. Those represent multiple choices, but you can only pick one. You can only do one of 3 things during the preparation phase: draft, play, or replace cards. Let's look at them separately. First is the draft. You can only draft 2 cards each preparation phase, unless certain ability tells you otherwise. You can either draft cards that are face up or from the deck. But make sure you don't exceed your hand limit at any given time. At the beginning, that limit is 3. This means that if you have a hand limit that is 4, and you currently have 3 kingdom cards in your hand, you can only draw 1 card that round. So you do not draw the second card. Take note that drafted cards will only be replaced from the kingdom deck once the player has finished his or her preparation phase. So the next player will receive a total of 2 new face-up cards maximum. Replace cards. Your second option is to replace a card. You can only replace 1 card from your hand, but you can also choose from both deck and face-up cards. Keep in mind that you do not discard the card you are replacing from your hand, but you instead put it on the spot of the card you just took. Third is to play a card, or cards. Last option is to play cards from your hand. You can play any number of cards, as long as you match one of the 2 criteria. So the first one is all played cards are of the same color, and the second option is that all cards are played from the same symbol or for the same purpose. So let's say I have 4 cards in my hand, 3 of them are red and the 4th one is blue. I can decide to play all 3 red cards regardless of their symbol. On the other hand, I could also play 1 blue card and 2 red cards if I would play them for the same purpose or symbol. In this case, I would play all 3 of those cards for reputation. When we play cards, we add up the number of symbols and receive that many resources or move that many spots on the map. In the previous example, I would receive 4 reputation on the world reputation track. The last thing we need to take a look at for preparation phase is what each symbol does when you play it. As mentioned before, reputation simply moves you up the reputation track. What reputation track does is give you many rewards when passing certain spots, and also giving you permanent coin bonuses when completing monster missions. Also, as mentioned in the beginning, in the unlikely event of a tie in the final scoring, the one highest on the reputation track would win the game. Experience symbol gives you that many experience cubes, which are represented as blue cubes. Experience is a resource necessary to learn magic, buy color dice, reroll the dice, etc. Flow is separated into 2 categories. First is the magic, and the second is the physical flow. Each is used for different purposes. Firstly, when playing Flow Kingdom cards, we would need to take a look at the character we are playing. Each character has a flow track on the right side of the card showing you which Kingdom card color gets you which flow. For example, a natural chaos character would receive a magic flow when playing green, blue, red or black color Kingdom cards, and a physical flow when playing yellow or purple cards. Magic flow is mostly used to trigger abilities or magic, whereas physical flow is used to sustain certain weather effects or enable you to do more actions. There is more to it, but those are the general gist of it. Lastly, movement lets you move that many spots on the board. Only thing that you need to keep in mind is to begin the movement in the matching region as the color of the Kingdom card you just played. For example, I am currently located in the city of Zemberg, in the Black Kingdom of Jorvik. I played 3 movement cards, the blue, black and the yellow, Since I am currently in a black kingdom, I can normally play the black movement card and move by 4 spots into the blue kingdom of Oldemort. Now I can also continue my movement with the blue card I played alongside black and move additional 3 spots. But since we have never started movement in the yellow region, that card would then need to be returned to our hand. So as you saw, each card is resolved separately, which means that you need to start the movement in the matching region for every movement card that you have played. With that, we conclude our preparation phase and we move to the main phase of the game, the action phase. Action phase. After the preparation phase is finished, you will clean up all the face-up kingdom cards and replace them with the new ones. Then the player will move to the main phase of the game, the action phase. Each player will perform one action, and then in the clockwise fashion, play will move to the next player according to the turn order, until all players have passed. On their player board, players have a set of 3 action tokens they can use on their turn in the action phase. Players will choose an action they wish to perform by placing an action token on the desired spot. The first 2 action tokens are free to use, but the last one has a red circle underneath indicating it requires you to spend 1 physical flow to use the third action. Actions players can perform can be separated into 2 categories: uncontested player actions and contested general actions. First are the player actions. These are located on their player board and marked with different symbols on the action spots. Let us go through them one by one and explain what they do, while also explaining mechanics of the game as we talk about them. First one we will mention is the location action. When players reach certain locations on the game board, they can perform the location action. And to understand how that works, let us take a closer look at our main game board. At the center of it, there is a big world map players will travel through. It represents part of a vast continent of Atosia and is separated into 6 different kingdoms, each represented with a different color. There are also many shield icons with names above them. Those represent different cities, towns within those kingdoms. Gold shields represent the capital cities. Each kingdom has one of those. Silver shields represent towns where different temples of magics are located. There are only 4 of those, each devoted to a different school of magic. Bronze shields represent the remaining towns and cities of the 6 kingdoms. And finally, the final location where players can perform the location actions are the herb gathering spots, represented by the herb symbol. They represent locations where players can gather different herbs. So let us start with those first. Gather herbs location action. Above the main game board there are 7 face-up herb cards. Those are representing current herbs growing throughout the world. They can be of 6 different colors. Again, each representing one of the kingdoms of Atosia and therefore also the locations where they are currently growing. You can see each of the 6 kingdoms has 2 herb locations that you can visit to gather them. So when players are located at one of those 2 spots, they can perform the location action, gather herbs. Then players will go to the tableau of 7 face-up herb cards and take one card matching the color of the kingdom they are currently at. Let us look at the example. Say we are in the purple kingdom of Morahan and we want to gather herbs. We will go to one of the 2 possible gather herb locations and then we will take one matching herb card. It will present us with 2 possible choices. On the right side there is an option to gather herb card for a total of 3 physical flow, or we can choose the benefits on the left side of the card and we gain 1 physical flow plus 2 antidote potions. You can only choose one of those 2 options and you do it immediately on the spot. Let us say the player has chosen 2 antidote potions and 1 physical flow. He immediately takes 2 antidote potion cards and 1 physical flow cube and discards the herb card. Then he draws a replacement for it, making sure among the 7 face-up cards there are no more than 2 of the same color. If you happen to draw the third one, you immediately discard it and draw a replacement. After that, the player indicates he has exhausted that herb spot by placing an exhausted herb token on the current herb location. This indicates that here the player can no longer take the gathered herb location, as this spot is now exhausted. However, as soon as someone would wish to take this action at the other gathered herb location within the same kingdom, the token would immediately be moved from the first gathered herb spot to the second one, thus making sure at least one spot will always remain open for players to gather herbs. Learn magic location action. There are 4 locations where players can learn magic. each represented with a silver shield icon and each belonging to a different school of magic: fire, protection, spirit, and air. Each will grant different abilities that you will be able to use throughout the game, mostly when fighting the monsters. To learn magic, players will have to perform location action plus spend an X amount of experience. That amount will depend on the number of already learned schools of magic. Learning a second magic will cost 2 experience cubes. Learning a third magic will cost 4 experience cubes. And finally, learning the fourth and last magic will cost 6 experience cubes. Moving on, we have 3 capital location actions. The reason they are called like that is because you can only perform them at one of the 6 capitals of the 6 kingdoms, marked with a gold shield icon. Things you can do when taking this action in the capital are as follows: visit the market shipyard, learn kingdom knowledge, visit a monarch or a special townsperson of that kingdom, and take one monster mission. So starting with visiting the market shipyard to buy potions, horse, or a ship trip. There are 5 different potions that you can buy. Night and strength potion will grant you strength during the battle. Speed potion will help you move further when traveling on land. Minor health potion will heal you, and each antidote potion will remove 1 poison token from your character card. Buying a horse will give you a permanent boost to land movement, and buying a ship trip will enable you to make a one-way trip on the seas. Second thing you can do at a capital is to learn kingdom knowledge. At the beginning of the game, we saw players gain its first kingdom knowledge. It represents all the knowledge of one kingdom about the monsters that are roaming the land. To learn the kingdom knowledge of a specific kingdom, you need to meet 3 criteria. First, you must not already possess kingdom knowledge of that kingdom. Second, you need to perform the location action at the capital of that kingdom. And finally, you need to play a kingdom card of that kingdom with an experience symbol on it. Once you do that, you will gain a kingdom knowledge token of that kingdom. This will help you fight the monsters and also increase the maximum hand size for the kingdom cards by 1 for each pair of kingdom knowledge token you possess. Third possible thing you can do at a capital is to visit its king or a special townsperson. There is only one king you can actually visit, and that is the mysterious king that will give you an option to collect a special monster mission. On the other hand, there are several townsfolk you can visit, and they will give you different options, from selling your monster trophies to writing poems about your deeds and grant you coins. Discover them for yourself. The last thing you can do only in the capitals of the 6 kingdoms is to take one monster mission. On the right side from the main board there is a tavern board, where at all times there are 9 monster missions currently available, but which kingdoms are currently looking for you to slay the monsters will vary. So you can only take one monster mission card from a kingdom that currently has at least one available. There are 3 types of monster missions ranging in difficulties and level. White are the level 1 monsters, brown are the level 2 monsters, and red are the level 3 monsters. To take a monster mission, a player chooses one mission card from the row matching the current kingdom he is in, and then also drawing one monster card matching the color of the token placed on the mission card, so white, brown, or red. Monster missions are also placed separately in columns on the tavern board. The columns represent the amount of information that is currently known about a specific monster. So if a player draws a card from the first column, he can turn the monster card and look at the monster he has to slay for free. But if a player takes one from the second or a third column, he will have to pay 20 or 30 coins for the reveal. He can, however, decide not to do it and goes into the battle blindly. After a player has taken the monster mission, which is just a word used to describe a mission and its matching monster card, he will take it to his player area. Then we will have to refill the tavern board with a new mission card, making sure we are not exceeding the limit of 3 mission cards per kingdom, or in the case of a Monster Hunter's Townsfolk card, maximum 1 mission per that specific kingdom. The kingdom cards will always come on the tavern board from the right side, thus pushing any cards on their way to the left, like this. Then we will use a monster refill below. Take the next monster token available on it and place it on the card we just added. Once the monster refill is empty, you will immediately refill it according to the rules displayed on the left. Depending on which year of the game we are currently in, that will vary. Also be careful to immediately wipe off the monster refill and refill it according to the second year display as soon as we hit the second year on the calendar track. Take note that mission cards themselves will have a lot of information you can use on them. On the bottom, you will be able to see if the location is near water source or a forest. Those can often offer some additional bonuses to the monsters themselves. On the top left side of it, you will be able to see the total distance in movement points from the capital to the monster mission location, helping you plan better. On the right upper side of the card, you can also see the distance if taking a shortcut using the hidden paths. More on them later. Players can have a maximum of 2 monster missions plus 1 red monster mission at any point in the game, so maximum of 3 if third one is a red one. They can never exceed that limit, but what they can do is decide to discard monster missions at any point during the game. However, they will go down on the world reputation track the same amount of spaces as the current level of the monster they discarded. So that was a capital location action, which as we just saw let us do many things. But there is one more location action we can do, probably the most important one too. Fight monster location action. So finally we are here. We are about to show you how you fight monsters in Silvercoin Age of Monster Hunters. Basics of how to fight are really simple. Battle in this game consists of 3 phases. Pre-battle phase, battle round, end of the battle resolution. But before we take a closer look at each one of them, let us first take a closer look at the monster card itself. On the upper left corner of each monster card are the rewards you get if you slay the monster. Coins plus reputation plus experience cubes. On the bottom left corner of each monster card are its health and base strength. On the right upper corner is the required kingdom knowledge. The amount of bonus the monster receives is equal to the difference between your current kingdom knowledge and the required kingdom knowledge on the monster card. If your kingdom knowledge is equal or higher than the monster receives no bonus to its strength, but neither do you. The next thing we can sometimes see on a monster card is the crossbones and skull icon representing the monster is poisonous. That one only means that the monster will be placing 1 poison token on your character card for every single damage it does. Remember, poison tokens can be removed by antidote potions. Their effect causes a player to lose 1 health at the beginning of each new round if they have any of their character card. No matter the amount of poison tokens on your character card, the damage they deal will always be 1. And if you are left with only 1 health, poison token will have no effect. A player cannot die in Silvercoin Age of Monster Hunters. Dying is not fun. Next icon we can see on the monster card is the legendary sword icon. This one will represent a possible bonus a monster hunter can receive if he owns a special action card, Legendary Sword. When measuring the strength of the monster before the fight, for simplicity's sake, we always just deduce the bonuses a monster hunter would receive from its total strength instead. So if a legendary sword would grant +1 strength to a monster hunter, we can also instead simply say that the monster has 1 less strength in total. Finally, one last thing we can see on the monster card are the various special abilities of a monster and bonuses a monster or a monster hunter can receive. They are displayed under the monster's picture. These are different bonuses a monster can receive if it's located near the forest in certain kingdoms, if fought during a certain time of the day, in certain weather, and so on. Now that we know all of this, we can move to the battle itself, more specifically, pre-battle phase. In a pre-battle phase, players will be preparing for the battle by triggering any special abilities on the card and drinking potions for their effect. Then the battle will begin, and players will fight the monster in many battle rounds until they either decide to flee, have lost the fight, or have slain the monster. So first thing that happens after each battle round is determining if the monster has been defeated, the player wants to flee, or the monster hunter has been defeated instead. If the player flees, the fight ends immediately. The player loses the reputation equal to the level of a monster, but keeps the monster card. If the player loses the fight, the player loses the reputation equal to the level of a monster, but also loses the monster mission card. If the player wins the fight, he collects the rewards written on the monster card, always receiving its bonuses, going from left to right. First the coins, then the reputation, and finally the experience cubes. Then the player looks for any additional bonuses he may receive from the world reputation track or from the monarch of the kingdom where he has been fighting, and finally he takes the monster card, adds it to the left side of his player board as a monster trophy, and discards the mission card, thus freeing up 1 spot for a future mission. If the fight has not been won or lost and player does not wish to flee, we simply move on to the new battle round until one of the above mentioned results occur. So now, how does the battle round look? Before each battle round, the player has to determine the monster's total strength, which is simply a monster's base strength plus any required kingdom knowledge bonuses plus any monster bonuses minus any monster hunter bonuses minus any card effects and finally minus the effect of a legendary sword special action card. Each battle round the player will first trigger any card effects, then he will at the same time roll color and white dice, then again he can trigger effects of any cards, and finally a player compares the result of the white dice plus any potential bonuses to the predetermined total strength of a monster. If the monster's total strength is lower, monster receive 1 damage. If the monster's total strength is equal, nothing happens. If the monster's total strength is higher, Monster Hunter receives 1 damage plus 1 poison token if the monster is poisonous. Let us take a look of an example of how the battle looked like. The player is about to fight a monster, a level 2 monster, the werewolf. The card is letting us know that the werewolf can only be fought during the full moon. Looking at the calendar board, we can see that we are currently in the second year of the game in the month of July and the full moon is present. The mission card is telling us the monster is located in the purple kingdom of Morahan in the city of Bak, so the player has traveled there and has just taken the location action. The battle is about to take place. Let us look at the monster card first to determine the strength of the monster. On the bottom left part of the card, we can see the monster's health value of 4 and its base strength of 9. Now if we look at the upper right part of the card, we see that the required kingdom knowledge is 4. The monster hunter has 2, but he is going to use his special action card to bridge the gap, so the monster does not receive any bonus to its strength. Looking back at the card, we see a legendary sword symbol, meaning we can use it to fight the werewolf. On the card itself it says it will give us +1 strength when fighting a monster with its symbol. But for simplicity's sake, we will simply say the monster loses 1 strength, meaning the werewolf is now down to a total strength of 8. The monster bonuses are showing that the monster gains +1 strength if in the kingdom of Oldemort, Jorvik or Lisblanc. However, we are currently fighting in Morahan, which has a different symbol, so the monster receives no bonus. And secondly, the monster gains +1 strength if it is located near the forest. On the mission card we can see the tree symbol, indicated that Beck is indeed located near the forest and thus the werewolf just gained +1 strength. That puts him back at a total of 9 strength. Now we move on to the monster hunter's bonuses. The monster hunter will gain +1 strength if he has learned fire and spirit magic. He has only learned fire, so he gains no bonus. And the second bonus says he will gain +1 strength if he has obtained a kingdom knowledge token of Oldemort. As he did, that gives him +1 strength, but for simplicity's sake, we will once again simply say the monster loses 1 strength instead. So the werewolf is down to 8 strength again. Finally, the player will drink 1 strength potion to bring the monster strength further down to a final strength of 7. Take a note that a monster hunter, if damaged at the beginning of a fight, can receive negative effects to his strength, which you would account for in this step when assessing monster strength. Those are indicated on his player card. The monster hunter, however, will not lose the strength if he gets damaged during the fight. The negative effect will take place only at the beginning of a battle. One final thing we have to be wary before the battle is that the werewolf has a special ability written on its card. The higher level monsters usually do. It says that if a player rolls 1s or 2s with their white combat dice, the monster will not receive any damage. He can still use the dice to prevent any damage in case of a high enough roll, meaning 7 or higher, since we have established that the werewolf will have a battle strength of 7. So let us start the battle. Before the battle round, the player can trigger any special card effects. He will decide to do so with his fire magic card, which tells him to allocate color dice of 1 color to potentially trigger effect of its magic. Now let us roll all the dice and start our first battle round. So the player will allocate the blue dice to the fire magic. Now let us roll. 6. 6 is less than 7, so that means that we would receive damage. So we can do something about it. We can use 1 experience cube instead to re-roll the dice. Now we only reroll the white dice. We do not reroll the colored dice with the experience cubes. Let us reroll. 6. So we still receive the damage. Not good. Not a good start. Let's roll again. Oh god. 6 again. Let us reroll again. 9. Much better. The monster receives the first damage token. Now we roll all the dice again. 8. Great. Another damage token to the monster. Let's continue with these awesome rolls. And as I say, I jinx it. Well, we did roll a 6. However, we also rolled a red 6, and that we can use and allocate to the special action card, the dodge. Now, we can use the experience cube to reroll, but we will instead use the red die immediately, and one physical flow will be the cost, and we will avoid being hit. So now we can move to the next battle round, and we just roll the white and blue die. Wow, great. So we just hit the monster for the 3rd damage. However, we also rolled a blue 6. The blue 6 we can use on the fire magic symbol, and now we can immediately trigger it by spending 2 magic flow to immediately deal 1 additional point of damage, thus killing the werewolf. The start was bad, but eventually we were able to finish the monster off. So now we take the damage tokens off the card and we move the werewolf to the left side of our player board, where the trophies are located. And now we collect the rewards on the card. Now, on the card it says 290 coins, and if we look at the purple region, the king actually is a skeptic king, and that would give us minus 10 coins for the mission. But on the reputation track we actually receive plus 10 bonus, so that basically negates the effect of the skeptic king and results in us receiving 290 coins in total. Let us take the money. Secondly, we will also gain reputation for slaying the monster. We see that we gain 2 reputations, so we move 2 places up the reputation track. Passing the speed potion, we get the speed potion card. So the second thing that is really interesting here is that we actually got to be at the second bonus location on the reputation track for a permanent bonus of plus 20 coins. We do not get this for this fight because the coins we already got and the reputation bonus is second. So this will only be there for us for the next monster missions. And finally, we also receive 2 experience cubes. So let us basically get the experience we lost back. And thus we have slain the monster. We can discard the mission card and thus freeing up 1 spot for the future monster missions. And this is how you fight a battle in Silvercoin Age of Monster Hunters. So these were all the possible location actions. Now remember one really important thing. If it so happens that you are in a location where you can perform multiple location actions, you can take all of them in the same turn by only spending 1 action token. So, if for example a player is located at the capital city and one of the monster missions he is yet to take also happens to be at the very same location, he can with 1 location action visit the market to buy potions, tavern to collect that monster mission, and fight the monster he just received as a monster mission all on the same turn. It is rare, but it does happen and makes such mission that much better. Let us now move to the next possible action players can perform on their player boards. The movement action. This is the main way the players will be moving on the world map. There are a total of 3 ways of moving in this game. Land movement, sea movement, teleportation. All of them can be performed by placing a token on the movement action spot. Let us look at them one by one. Land movement. On the world map, players will be moving by following the black lines which are connecting different locations and flags. Black lines are supposed to represent roads. Shield icons, gather herb icons, and the flags are supposed to represent stopping points, and each of them represents 1 point of movement. The base movement a player will have is 5, and it can be affected by different bonuses or maluses. To increase their base movement, players can buy a horse or drink a speed potion, while the negative effect on the movement will be, for example, caused by the current weather. To understand how weather in this game works, we have to take a look at the calendar board. On the calendar board, we will find different information. The year we are currently at, the round, season, month we are currently at, the time of day cycle we are currently experiencing, that can be daylight, nighttime, or full moon, and at the bottom and top of the calendar track there will be two different weathers. The sea weather located at the top of the calendar track, the land weather at the bottom of the calendar track located on the weather cards. There are 4 types of weather cards, one for each season: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. And each of those cards is separated into 3 different parts. One devoted to each month of the specific season, which, remember, is also representing one round of the game. Upper part of that section on the card will be showing you the weather we will be experiencing in that month round of the game and its effect. The possible weathers we can experience are as follows. Clear weather means no effect, your movement is not affected. Rain, snow, and rainstorms, where your movement is affected by -1 or -2. Drought, no effect on movement, but if moving, you need to spend either 1 physical flow or suffer 1 loss of health. And snowstorm, which puts a -3 on your movement and also requires you to spend 1 physical flow when moving, or you lose 1 health. Below each of those weather icons and effects, we can see a circle where we will be moving our weather token on, to keep track of the current weather we are going to experience in this round. However, the symbol within the circle will also be showing us the current type of a round. Remember, we mentioned before there are 3 types of rounds: normal, bidding, and flow round, but more on that later. On each weather card around one of the circles, we can also see 2 arrows. Those are there just to indicate when the players can flip the next weather card and look at the future weather and things that await them in the following season. So when moving, a player will just count the base movement total of 5 and add or subtract any bonuses to that because of cards or weather effects. Let us look at a short example. A player is moving on land during the winter, in the month of February. It is currently a snowstorm and he has a horse and no speed potion. His base movement is 5. His horse adds 2 to his base movement. The snowstorm will take away 3 for a total of 4 movement, and he will pay 1 physical flow when moving, so he does not suffer any health loss. Special note about moving on land. You may have noticed we can also see some white lines and dots on some parts of the map. Those are representing the so-called hidden paths. There are 3 of those: path through the desert, path through the mountain, and path through the marshes. Players can travel through those only if they have obtained special action cards which allow them to do so, and they can use them as shortcuts to reach destination faster. Next is the sea movement. In order for a player to move on the sea, he needs to meet 3 conditions. He needs to perform a movement action, he needs to have a ship journey card that he has obtained either through a market in a capital city, special action card, or via reputation track bonuses. And lastly, he needs to be located at one of the 4 capitals containing ports within the game. Those are capital city of Göbekli Tepe in a purple kingdom of Morahan, capital city of Lemuria in a yellow kingdom of Abaris, capital city of Lilac in a green kingdom of Lis Blanc, capital city of Oldefar in a blue kingdom of Voldemort. Then they take their base movement of 5 and add or subtract any weather effects for sea weather which can be found on the top part of the calendar board, and they can move that many spaces via sea and eventually land at a different port. Once they do, their sea journey is finished, and they need to spend another ship journey card to do it. Traveling via sea can be a fast way to reach certain locations. Even faster than traveling via sea is moving via teleportation. To do that, players need to obtain a teleportation scroll card that they can buy from the wizard townsperson if he is present in the game, or through receiving a gold teleportation token on a reputation track. It can be used as one of the 3 possible movements, and it will grant players an ability to immediately teleport to any of the 6 capitals. Now that we have looked at all of the location actions and types of movement you can use with your movement action, it is time we speak about the next possible action you can perform: the combo action. A combo action is in a way a combination of 2 different actions: movement plus location action. Well, almost. However, to use it and to perform it, a player needs to play a kingdom card with the movement symbol matching the kingdom where his player figure is currently located at. He can then, in any order, move and take the location action, but his movement is limited with the number of movement points written on the movement kingdom card. So technically speaking, it is not a regular movement. This movement is not affected by any positive or negative effects, meaning players cannot boost it and weather cannot affect it. So we can immediately see that the benefit of this action is that it allows us to move and perform a location action by using just one action token. But we do have to spend one movement kingdom card to do it. Still, it is a powerful action which can allow for players to optimize their journey. Fourth action on our player boards is the transform flow action. This one is simple and will allow the player to transform one type of flow for another. It is not a powerful action, but can be useful as a way out of certain situations. Next is the random draw action. When taking this action, a player draws one card from the top of the kingdom card deck and adds it to his hand. A player can perform this action only if he still has space for additional kingdom cards, keeping the max amount in mind. The second to last action we can find on the player board is Reputation action. It will move the player one spot up the world reputation track. And the last action on the player board is the Replace Kingdom Cards action. As the name suggests, a player can replace one of his kingdom cards from his hand with one another kingdom card face up in the kingdom cards area. We can immediately notice that this action is similar to the circle below the third action token colored in red. That indicates a player needs to spend one physical flow in order to use it, and if you use your third action token to take it, that would actually result in you having to spend two physical flow cubes, one for the third action token and one for the replace kingdom card action. With that, we conclude the uncontested actions players can perform on their player board, and now we will move to the final group, the general actions. These can be found on the lower right part of the main game board. These action places are contested, meaning any player can take the action. Once someone places an action token there, no one else can go on the same spot. Let us take a look at them. First is the Gain Experience action. A player gains one experience cube. Second is the Gain Flow action. A player gains one physical or one magic flow. Third is the General Movement action. This one will let you move 2 spots. As we can see, this one is also colored red and requires you to spend one physical flow to use. Fourth is the Battle Spirits action. Previously, when explaining the symbols on the monster card, we intentionally skipped out on this one. Some monsters will have the ghostly symbol on the upper right part of the card, indicating this monster is indeed a spirit. To be able to fight a spirit, players need to have learned spirit magic. However, the second option is also to put an action token on this action spot and one on the location action. It will cost you one magic flow to do, indicated by a purple color of this action spot, and also require you to spend 2 action tokens in total, but will offer you a way to fight a spirit monster if you still have not learned spirit magic. Next is the turn order action. There are 2 spots you can go on here. The first enables you to become the first player and costs 1 physical flow, while the second one is free and will allow you to go second in turn order. That one is mostly used in higher player counts games. Once a player uses it, immediately move the player token matching his color to the first or second spot on the turn order track, located just right from the general action area, and move all the remaining player tokens one space down the track. The last general action is the Buy Color Dice action. We mentioned color dice when doing the setup and showing you an example of a combat. Well, this is the action that will, for one additional physical flow, allow you to go and buy these color dice. In the color dice area there are 3 subsections. Each time you take this action, you can buy the dice from only one of those. Each has its own cost indicated with the experience symbols above. Quickly looking through them, it goes like this. In the first color die section, a player buys 1 color die leftmost on the track for a total of 1 experience cube. In the second color die section, a player can buy any 1 color die he wishes for a total of 2 experience cubes. In the third color die section, a player can buy any 2 color dice he wishes for a total of 3 experience cubes. Colored dice are used for combat and usually require a card to activate. With this, we have now gone through all of the possible actions the players can take. And once again remember, players each take one action in a turn order until all have passed, ensuring downtime is shorter and the game more fluid. After all the players have passed, the game round enters in its final cleanup phase. Here we only have to: first, move the turn token from one spot to the next month on the calendar track. Second, if need be, and we enter the second year, move the year token as well. And finally, move the weather token one spot on the weather card or to the next weather card. And thus we can begin a new game round. Before we jump into the final scoring, there is one more thing we need to mention and go through. We already mentioned there are 3 types of rounds we can have: a normal round, a bidding round, a flow round. We already covered a normal round. Now let us also cover the remaining 2. Remember, on the bottom front part of the weather card within the circle there can be 2 symbols: bidding symbol, flow symbol. Those are used to indicate that in that month round of the game we are entering the bidding or the flow round. Let us look at them separately. First, the bidding round. When the weather token is placed on the bidding symbol on the weather card, that means we are entering the so-called bidding round. Everything happens the same as in a normal round with one exception. Before the preparation phase, players will be using their kingdom cards to bid for the special action cards available face up in the upper right side of the game board. Yes, indeed, we finally are going to cover those as well. There are in total 5 special action cards available for players to gain during the bidding round, so players can already know in advance what they will be bidding for and plan accordingly. We also already mentioned that on the bottom right side of the kingdom cards there are numbers from 1 to 7 indicating value of those cards during the bidding. Players will in turn order decide to play one or more cards face down to indicate with which kingdom cards they are bidding. After that, they will simultaneously reveal their cards and add up the values of the kingdom cards. The player with the highest total value will be able to pick a special action card first, second highest bidder will go second, and so on. In case of a tie, the turn order will be a tiebreaker. Players can also decide to not place any kingdom cards and thus not participating in the bid, but they will not receive any special action cards as a result. Special action cards are a powerful tool with which players will be progressing and upgrading their character. Each game there will be a total of 4 to 8 bidding rounds, so plan carefully. The last type of a game round is the flow round. When the weather token on the weather card is placed on a flow symbol, we are entering the flow round. It is called like that because team-wise it is supposed to represent the increased amount of flow present in the world of Atosia when it happens. Each of the characters will have its own special ability it can perform only during such a round, and it can be performed at any time during their turn in that round. For example, a natural chaos character is, during the flow round, able to place powerful portals only he can use and travel through. There will be a total of 4 to 7 flow rounds per each game. So similar to the above advice, plan wisely. So with that we can now go into the final phase of the game, Endgame scoring. After the last round of the game, which will happen on the last month in year 2 on the calendar track, we will not be going to the cleanup phase, but instead continue directly into the endgame scoring. Players will count up the total amount of coins they have, and the player with the most coins will be declared the winner of the game. In the event of a tie, the player highest on the reputation track will win. Remember, coins in this game are a secret information, till the end game scoring takes place. We have made it to the end of this video. You should now be able to play the game, and if you have any questions, you can always contact us on Facebook, via email, or through our official Discord channel. Links will be provided below this video. Thank you to everyone helping us playtest this game and coming along on this amazing journey. Till next time, hunters, and may your bags be full of silver coins.